Welcome again to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ BRAMLETT, back again with my super producer, Ryan Wall. And man, what a good weekend for our Arizona Cats, man. That Washington trip was good to us this time around.
Yeah, Arizona looks great. Now, started the month a little rough, bumpy road to the end of the month of January, but they got there past the flying colors, 4 straight wins. Yeah, they looked really good this weekend. Big win against Washington, as you said, 23 points. But before we talk about that, AJ, I wanted to hear your thoughts because they had a closer game a couple days before that on Thursday against Washington State. They won by 5 points. The shooting was pretty good, but Kerr kind of led the way, had 11 threes in those two games. Let's start with Kerr. What do you think of his performance against Washington State? Really a bounce back, game from him. We've talked about his struggles as of late, but he really proved himself this weekend.
He did, man. I mean, he played great basketball. That's the exact kind of Kirk Creasy we need for the team and from now moving forward. Took really good shots. His feet were set on all those. All of them looked like they were going in. He shot with confidence. He didn't force anything. And when his threes are going in, we're just a different team, man. I mean, it just gives us a burst of energy. I think our confidence is higher. And he did a heck of a job, man, all weekend long, shooting the basketball, getting off to a hot start, and hitting timely threes too when we needed them. And kind of Washington State was making a run, or UW was in the other game. He seemed to be the one that would make a play and knock down a big three and kind of quiet the crowd and calm us down. So, hats off to Kerr, man. Maybe it helped coming on the pod last week and opened up his shooting a little bit, which is great to see.
Yeah, he was great. He's the key to their success, as we know. Been like that all season. But another guy that it seems like whenever he has a good performance, Arizona comes out on the winning end of things, and that's Kylan Boswell, the freshman. Continues to impress every game. Only 20 minutes, but 4 for 5 from the field, 9 points, 2 rebounds. He was excellent in this game. Provided a spark off the bench. What do you think of his performance, and what do you think him succeeding in this role off the bench, can do for this Wildcat team down the stretch?
That's huge for us, man. And we've been talking Kylan up every week, on the podcast since the beginning of the season, and just waiting for him to continue to develop. He's done it. He's proven he can be a consistent player now. He's in the rotation. He provides. He's another guy that provides energy. I mean, when he hits shots or is being aggressive and makes plays, it uplifts the team in all aspects of the game. So Kylan, I love. He's been doing it. He's just a smart player, man. For 17 years old, the way that he plays the game and the decisions that he makes on the court are something that you probably, you don't rarely, if ever, see from a kid that age playing at this level. So he's doing a great job. And don't forget about Pella too. I mean, Pella had one of his better games. I thought, against Washington State, just in terms of his aggressiveness, going to the basket, big dunks. It was just fun to see him out there, balling as well, and really, taking ownership of his role and being aggressive off the bench. Like both those guys, played really well in that game.
Yeah, Pella, since moving to the bench after the Oregon loss last week, he scored 8 in 3 of the last 4 games. And yeah, I think he's been excelling in that role, providing another spark for Arizona. And I think the common theme is whenever Pella is aggressive, it seems like, the game just comes to him and he really scores the ball at a high level. But the guy that we always talk about and who is, the best scorer and just most productive overall player on this team, Azuolas Tubelis, had his 9th double-double against Washington State and had his 10th double-double of the season against Washington, 18 and 12 against Washington State. What'd you think of his performance there?
I mean, Zoo, we say this almost every week, man. It's just he's one of the best players, top players of the country. I mean, he's been consistent all year long. Really hasn't had really an off game. I mean, maybe for his standards, but for everybody else's, he hasn't had a bad game really all year long. And a guy that goes out there and gets you double-digit rebounds, every game and can score 20 points a game is just rare to find. And so, he's elevated himself so much from where he was last year, which is great to see. The guys know that they can count on him. His mid-range game has improved tremendously, and him finding other spots on the floor to be able to score. He finishes really good through contact now. Runs the court better than anybody in the entire country, and is a high level passer. And his defense has improved tremendously as well. So, I mean, you can't ask anything more from what Zoo's been doing this season, and it's fun to watch for us. And he's absolutely the number one thing that drives this team and makes us go.
Yeah, and like you said, he's just so consistent, day in and day out. You could count on him almost every single night. To me, I think it's clear that he's the second best player in the country. He's averaging 20, nearly 10 rebounds, 2 assists. I think the best player in the country, a lot of people want to say, is Zach Edey. He's averaging 22 and 13. And, Purdue only has 1 loss.
Right.
But, I mean, AJ, do you agree with that? Do you think there's no one but besides Zach Edey or Julius Tabalis is the second best player in the country, and maybe even has a case if he has a good last couple of weeks of the season for player of the year?
He should absolutely be in the conversation for player of the year. I mean, what was expected from our Arizona team before the season to where we are right now, and the way that he's played and just elevated his game and has played well in each one of our big games this year. Especially on the national TV games, he should definitely be up there. I mean, you don't see a guy averaging what he averages and being that consistent, day in, day out, and just working as hard as he does. He should be up there in the conversation, absolutely. And if he continues to play the way that he has been playing, especially the last 2 games and really, the whole season, there's no reason why his name shouldn't be mentioned with those top guys and be there right at the very end for being selected as National Player of the Year.
Along with player of the year, potentially, I think he's the clear most improved player in the country, too. I mean, He went from averaging 14 points, 6 rebounds to, 20 and almost 10 rebounds this year. And, he's improved his shooting percentage every single spot. From the field, he went from 54 to 56. 3-point attempts, he doesn't shoot a lot of them, but he went from 26 to 43%. And then he went from 67% from the free throw line to now 76. I mean, this guy is just he's automatic every single game. This leads me to my next question for you, AJ. I haven't seen Tabalis that high on a lot of NBA mock drafts, but the question that keeps popping up, if this guy returns, to Arizona for a senior season, how dominant and how big of a powerhouse can this Wildcat team be with Tabalis coming back for year 4 potentially?
Yeah, I mean, to see him another year if he continues to improve like we've seen him do over the past 2 years. I mean, sky's the limit for Zoo, and obviously he's going to have opportunities at the end of this season, and he would be smart to test those waters and see how it goes after the season with the season that he's had. But we'd love to have him back too, because I think his game is really suited for college basketball. He improves. I think next year we'd probably see him shoot a lot more 3-pointers and improve that. I think that's probably he already is a good shooter, but just in this offense, he doesn't feel like he needs to do that, and he knows exactly where his spots are for him to be successful. So, but I think you would see a big jump in his attempts next year at that, and see him improve there. But you talked about his free throw shooting. That's a huge thing for him. That's why his scoring averages jumped so much this year, because he's knocking down those free throws at a high clip, and he's being more aggressive. Because when you don't shoot well from the free throw line, a lot of times you don't want that contact. You shy away from it, and you don't want to go to the line because you're not confident that you're going to make those shots. And this year he's searching it out, he's looking for it, and then he's going down to going to the free throw line and knocking them down, and that's why you see his average around 20. But if he comes back, man, that'd be huge for us. But also at the same time, if he has the opportunity to go, like DT did last year, or the guys that left last year and be successful, that's great for Zoo too. So either way, it's a win-win for us, I think.
Yeah, we'll get into more of those conversations later in the season. But moving on and talking about the second game as they were in Washington was against the University of Washington. They won 95-72, big win. This felt like a performance from the Wildcats we knew from earlier in the season. With Tabalis and Ballo combining for 46 and 22. they were just dominant. Ballo, perfect 9 for 9
Yeah.
from the field, and then, like I said, Kirk Kriisa continuing to splash down those threes, 6 for 11 with 18 points in this game. What stood out to you the most and was the biggest thing why Arizona, had a big blowout victory over Washington?
I mean, there's a lot of things in this one, but I think, it goes to this is one that's for the inside guys. I mean, and obviously Kerr's threes and his shooting opens that up, a lot for the guys, for Umar and Zoo inside, but those guys were dominant. I mean, you don't see, two big guys have those type of games in the same game very often where, Zoo with 25 and 10 and Umar with 21 and 12. I mean, how much can you ask them to do? I mean, it's incredible. And Umar, he had a slow game at Washington State. They kind of keyed on him and kind of tried to take him away. We did a good job of kind of scoring without him in that game. So that's a big bounce back game for him and just being a really aggressive 9 for 9 for the field, man. And the type of moves that he was making. I mean, aggressive moves. He had one step through move that was really, really nice in the first half. Rebounded the ball extremely well, passed the ball well. And then Zoo just continuing to just be a machine, man, and do what he does, run the court every time, beat guys down. Had a lot of good finishes, good passes as well to Umar. So those guys shined in this game, and really, Washington played well the first half. They hung with us, but second half, and then Kerr just being able to be consistent, and Courtney in this game. I mean, both of them, and Courtney shot, well in the other game as well. Both those guys, if they're able to hit, a majority or at least 50% or 30 to 35 to 50% of their threes from the outside each game, we're just a different team because the teams can't key on our inside guys. It opens up and spreads the floor, and that confidence, just when those threes are going in, it makes everybody feel empowered, man, and just play their best basketball. Those Courtney and Kerr did a great job of that this weekend.
Yeah, I also think this was one of their best shooting games of the season. While only turning the ball over 9 times, which was good to see. 52% from the field, 42% from 3 as a team, and 84% on free throws. I mean, this was really good. And, this was a big win, almost 100 points for the first time in a while, while, the bench only scored 8 points total. So kind of the opposite of the game against Washington State, but, they still got the job done. Really good win. And, this win puts them, just a half a game back from UCLA in the Pac-12 conference standings. But AJ, before we get to this week's big game against Oregon, any other final thoughts on, the games against Washington schools?
I thought it was just a great showing for us. I mean, it's continued to show, build off the USC and UCLA weekend. Both games were different, so we also continue to show that we can win different ways, whether our bench contributes in one game offensively or the next game is defensively or whatever it is. We're figuring out more ways that we can beat teams and win games. And so when you see that's a good trend for the end of the Pac-12 tournament and then into the NCAA tournament, because all those games are going to be different. All teams are different, play different styles, and we're continuing to prove that, hey, no matter what the style is, we'll figure out a way to be able to win these games. And so the more that we do that, the more our confidence builds, the more, we just continue playing cohesive basketball. So I thought it was just a great weekend all around for us, man. It was really, really good victories up at UW.
Yeah, well, no more time to discuss that, AJ, because there's a big game on Thursday night. The Oregon Ducks come to Tucson this time around for an 8:30 game. It's on ESPN, another big time game. And, we all know what happened the last time they faced a little over a week ago when Oregon won by 19 points at their place. But this time around, it's in Tucson. Should be a big crowd there. You expect the Arizona, to kind of revenge that loss in a big way like they did again for their Washington one?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're gonna be ready to play, and playing at home, and McHale is gonna be rocking. We got embarrassed up there, and every time that I've seen this team where we didn't play well and really didn't play up to our standard of energy or effort or whatever, we've always bounced back, and I think we're going to do that, on Thursday as well against Oregon. I mean, Oregon is good. I mean, when they're playing their good basketball, historically, we've talked about this before. They always play well against Arizona because it's probably the biggest game on their schedule each season. They're going to be ready to play, but I have full confidence in our guys that we're going to avenge that loss and get some get back against these guys on Thursday at McHale. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. This team, like you said, they have shown an ability to really bounce back in a big way. And then after all three of their losses this season, AJ, they've won by at least 10 points the following game, which is just very impressive because, when you lose by that much, it's sometimes could be hard, to just get right back in the motion and get back in the swing of things, in the feeling. But there's no better place to return home to than McCall Center. So yeah, I think it should be a good game. I think Oregon, they had a really good game. I mean, you can't take it away from them. It was a really good win last time around for them, but I don't think they'll be as hot, shooting the ball. And yeah, I think they really need to, if Arizona can play some good defense down low with Ballo and Tabellas, I mean, and protect the rim, I think Arizona will come out on top. Later in the week, Arizona plays Oregon State to wrap up on Saturday night here in Tucson. What's your thoughts about that game too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a conference game, so it's going to be tough. I mean, we played really well against them, up in Corvallis on the first game, but they're going to be ready to play. One thing that we've, done a really good job of these past few games is defending the 3-point line. Our 3-point defense has gone, way up. We've been challenging more, just giving extra effort. I can see those little plays that we're making now that we weren't making, kind of in that stretch where we weren't playing as good basketball. So I think we're going to be ready for both these games. Obviously, the Oregon game is big, and if we win that, there could be a little bit of a letdown. It could happen, but I think Tommy's got these guys ready. I think they know what time of year it is. It's time to start dialing it in and getting ready for postseason play. And I think it's going to be a good weekend, a fun weekend down at McHale in Tucson this weekend.
Yeah, well, Arizona's 11 games into their Pac-12 season. They have 9 left. I just wanted to get your kind of thoughts about, I mentioned they're only a half game back to UCLA. They play them the final week of the season at their place, which should be a great game. Do you think that Arizona is going to end up, winning the Pac-12 regular season championship?
I think we're going to have that chance. I really truly believe that it's going to go down to that last game, at Pauley, and see what happens there. And that's what we want. We want that type of big time atmosphere. I think that we're playing good basketball right now. I don't foresee any slip ups, mentally and effort wise that we've had earlier in the season. So, if we get to that last game and that's for all, for the championship, I mean, that's what you want. That's what, as fans, that's what you want to see. It'd be a big time game for us, on the national scene as well. So I hope that it happens. I think that there's a high opportunity and possibility that it will. And if UCLA drops another one here or there, but I think we definitely have a shot of taking a regular season title. And then, the tournament's always a crapshoot because the tournament's just tough. We played teams a bunch of times during the year. They scout you better. We've historically played well in that tournament, for Arizona basketball, and we love being there. So I think we have opportunity to win both, but it's going to be a fun ride these last few weeks, of the season for sure.
Yeah, and playing UCLA and USC the last week of the season means they could play those teams twice in the span of a week.
Yeah.
So, that's really difficult. It's really hard to beat a team, a couple times in a row and in the same season. But just before we get into our guest today, an update on the rankings. Arizona moved up 1 spot to number 5 in the latest AP poll. Tennessee, who Arizona beat at McCall about a month or two ago, it moved up to number 2, which looks even better for Arizona, because if you have a win over a top 2 team, it looks good. But I mean, we disagree with the rankings all the time. But what are some thoughts you have about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of funny that they're ranked, ahead of us, but as far as it goes for, our power schedule and all that, that's great. And Tennessee's a good team. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tennessee is a good team, but Obviously, we have a victory over them. We played really well against them, physical basketball that we needed to prove a point, and we did. So, the rankings are the rankings. I think we'll continue to move up. We keep winning, obviously, these games. Teams are falling off left and right. I mean, it seems like every week, besides Purdue, has been pretty consistent this year. Everybody else has been kind of up and down. So, I expect other teams to lose that are in the top five, and there'll be some shift there. Creighton has actually been playing better. I was going to bring that up. They've been playing better, so that looks. I was looking for a while there that victory wasn't going to be, as good as it was early in the season, but they've been bouncing back and having some really good victories. So, our strength of schedule is great. We have all those quad one victories, and so, I think we're just going to continue to build that tournament resume.
Yeah, Arizona, has the victory over Tennessee, number 2, and then, as we know, number 9 UCLA right now. So, I mean, that's very impressive, as we know. But let's not waste any time and get into our guest today. We have a great guest. AJ, tell everybody who we have on.
Yeah, this is truly an honor and a blessing. A man that is a foundational piece of U of A basketball. He was a hometown kid, was one of the greatest players to ever play at the University of Arizona, and a new Ring of Honor enrollee. Mr. Ernie McCray joins us next on Bear Down Ballers. All right, we welcome in now a man who led the U of A in all statistical categories back in the 1956-57 season, was the Border Conference Most Valuable Player during the 1960 season, a legend at the University of Arizona. He's been an outstanding athlete, teacher, actor, poet. The list goes on, man. Mr. Ernie McCray, how you doing? Welcome to Bear Down Ballers.
I'm doing okay, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Really appreciate you coming on with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So
I've been feeling like a celebrity these last couple of weeks.
Hey, that's you. You earned that, man. It's about time. So, hey, I just want to jump right in, man, and just really kind of go back and talk to you about what your high school career was like, back at Tucson High, back in the day, and what it was like playing back then, and kind of give me the overall layout of what Tucson was kind of like back in those days.
Well, playing at Tucson High was the most fun I've had playing basketball. I mean, the U was fun, I got my degree and, all that. But growing up, I wanted the big T and the A, but the T had to come first,
That's right.
I see guys from my neighborhood, because nobody from my neighborhood went on to the university and played,
Right.
So at Tucson High, I was following the George Nicholson, Sylvester Taylor, Knapp Wilson. These were the Garth Wilson. These were the guys that were, that I was trying to emulate. And I wasn't seeking stardom or anything like that. And I was good. I made all city in junior high, but that's just things that happen. I just wanted to be on the team. And then to have my game just kind of just grow right before my eyes. I didn't even realize how good I was becoming. And I picked up on it when the coaches were saying, "Get the ball to Ernie,"
That's right.
And the manager at halftime is saying, "Wow, Ernie's got 13 points and 5 rebounds and all that kind of stuff." And I'm hearing all this, getting my name in the paper. You know how that feeling goes, and being recognized in the halls at school, getting invited to parties that a lot of my friends wouldn't, they didn't get invited to. Rich white people's parties, that kind of thing. And some of them, were kind of, doing that jealousy thing. Man, you think you something, you get to go to the party and all that.
Bougie now.
If you ever notice me not going to a party,
That's right.
I'm going to keep on going, as long as they invite me. And it was funny, just that party thing was an education. I grew up in this little duplex, and we bought a house around the corner. And then I'd go to houses that had, 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and stuff like that. So this was just seeing how people live, the differences. And I went to Tucson High to have fun. All through elementary and junior high, I was trying to make the honor roll and all that kind of stuff. And at Tucson High, I didn't abandon that, but it was just sort of like, because the racial thing was always in the back of my mind.
Right.
Now I'm around a bunch of, a large white population. And I just felt like if you treated people decently, you would be treated decently, and I found that to be true. So I tested out a philosophy in life, and I didn't think I was all that because I got invited to these things, but it was just sort of like I was accepted, and I treated people with respect, and I was raised to treat people with respect, and fortunately, I grew up in a home where the emphasis wasn't on white people. A lot of black homes saying, well, you got to watch out. The man won't let you do this. The man won't let you do that. We didn't have those kind of conversations. I was just led to believe that if you want something, go for it.
Right. Why was that? Why, what was different about, the way that your parents raised you, or that went into that mindset?
Well, one thing, I was raised by my mother, and then my grandfather came, and her dad came and lived with us when I was about third grade. And I was listened to.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. And I got hit 2 or 3 times, if I can remember. And when I look back on that, the reason for it, I would have hit me too. But that's part of black culture, to get that ass whooping, but
to go out there, pick your own switch. And all that.
Pick your own, all that kind of stuff. I didn't have to go. Actually, I wish sometimes that I could have gotten a whipping, because I know all my buddies, they get their ass whipped, and then they just right back out to play. So they got their. My mother would, she would say, she'd have to hear, she said, I want you to explain to me why you did what you did.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you went down there to Mrs. Warner's house, and that woman loves you, and you in jail, and Vernell and those guys took all the peaches off her tree. I just explain to me what was in your mind, and I couldn't do.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No answer.
That wasn't, like she said, well, I got all day, and I didn't get to go out and play again until I was learning how to use words, and how to question my behavior, because I knew when I got in trouble, it wasn't no whipping. It's like, I'm gonna have to explain to my mother. Well,
I've been through that too, man. It's not fun. It's not fun.
Were you kind of raised like that?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Just, oh God, here we go. I just want to say, just whip my ass and let me
go outside and play. Yeah, that's right.
I'm hearing them outside arguing about safe. No, he's out. No, he's safe. I want to get back in.
Out there looking through the screen door. Can't go outside. So, you did a great job. Obviously, at Tucson High, you were a star in the city. Everybody knew you. And then, so you talked about it a little bit, but how did you decide on going to U of A? Like, what was your final deciding factor on why you chose the Wildcats back then?
Well, I wasn't recruited much. Kansas, if I remember right, I can't remember the details now, but they were interested in me, but they were looking for somebody to just throw the ball in the wilt,
Yeah.
and I don't mind that, but it's sort of like, I got some game too,
Yeah, I do.
I don't want to just spend the whole game getting the ball into the wilt. And Eastern Arizona Junior College was interested. Bruce Larson. Did you ever know Bruce Larson? He was head coach briefly.
Yeah.
He was a good coach. He wanted me over there. But I also had a situation, my high school sweetheart was pregnant. So I began my career in college as a dad, and I was glad I got to go to University of Arizona. And the way it happened, I was at the Y working out, and Alan Stanton, who was a great athlete at the University of Arizona, was the freshman basketball coach. And he hadn't seen me play yet. And he said, "You Ernie McCray?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Has Fred Inc., talked to you about a scholarship or anything?" I said, "No." He said, "What?" Next day I had a scholarship.
Hey, there you go.
And Alan was, did you ever meet Alan?
I've never met Alan. No, I remember his name, but I've never met him personally. No.
He was a close friend, and loved playing for him. And he was fiery. He would get out there when he didn't think we were hustling enough. He'd get out there and guard us or something, and we had this thing in practice. When the ball was shot, we all had to say "mine." and everybody was supposed to go get the ball. So that
Yeah.
made me a rebounder, just that mind. You don't sit back and go, oh, I think he's got it.
Yeah, that's right.
You
I
know?
might have to implement that with my son's teams, man. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah. Oh, it was great, because if you didn't do that and didn't go after, then you had to, run 4 laps or something,
Yeah.
but no big deal.
Yeah.
Basketball practice are brutal anyway, So it was another 4 or 5 laps, but he was something. He got me going. And I graduated in 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause we needed money. I had all my first set of kids that whole time. I think me and Lena, I don't think we knew how babies were born. I look back on it and I said, God, man, you had 3 kids, beautiful kids, but
Yeah.
what the heck were we thinking? But my mother had an answer for that. Yeah, you were thinking with your
That's right. So I read also, man, during your time at U of A, you talked about, being a father during that time, and that you also worked, I mean, all kinds of crazy, like odd jobs, man.
Oh.
Like band stamping, janitor at Sears, you bus tables, you were a lifeguard, you were doing all this stuff. Like, how did you manage to do all that stuff? Kind of talk about what that was like back then, man, that time in your life.
That's a good question, because I really don't know how I did it. It just had to be done. I had more jobs. Did you watch In Living Color?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Jamaican family,
Yep.
that whole job.
Yep.
Airplane pilot, steward, serve the food, all that. Mechanics.
That's right.
I would just, at some office at the U, they would post jobs every day, like family needs somebody to help them move.
Right.
I did a lot of those kind of things, or landscaping. I worked for a catering service. That was good. I made more money in tips than I made, and that was my introduction to the tip world,
Right,
So,
right.
and like I said, lifeguard, worked for the rec department, at Greyhound race track.
Yeah.
Going around, I forget what they call it. We walked the dogs so people could look at them and stuff. And then I got the job of collecting urine from the dogs. Somebody would say, ew, but that was a cool job, because I didn't have to walk all around the track. If a dog was starting, get the little cup and a stick, they would check for, see if the dog was
Dopey, right? Yeah, right.
Do they still have Greyhound races there?
You know what? I don't know. I never went to them when I was there, but I remember hearing about them. But yeah, I don't know.
That was big back then for people's recreation. Tucson's got a lot more to offer now.
So what was kind of talk to me about what Tucson was like back then at that time. I mean, obviously playing for U of A, what that meant to you, and then just kind of what the climate was like, because it's something that guys my age just we don't understand that fully. So it kind of can you break down kind of how it was back in those times for you?
Well, Tucson was Jim Crow, but it wasn't like it was in the South.
Yeah.
And you could talk back. You could curse a white person out. In the South, you could do that too, but then you pretty much you just committed suicide. But I went to a segregated school, Dunbar. So I didn't go to an integrated school setting until going into the 8th grade. Then most of my classmates were Latino, because they had been considered white and they had to walk away from the neighborhood. Now they could go to their neighborhood school.
Right.
We had to sit in the balcony at movies. We could only go to a skating rink on certain days at a certain time. I called it Negro Skating Day, when finally go. And as athletic I am, I'm a lousy skater, because I just kind of resented not being able to go skate when I went to. So I never really got into skills. I mean, some people make skating like an art form,
Yeah.
Do you know Al Longmire? He was a barber, You probably a
Hey,
lot of
Al, Al's barbershop.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
big Al, yeah. I've been to Al's for years and years, man. He got
Oh,
all of us,
Al's
got
my
all
man.
of us stuff. Yeah, of
You
course.
ought to see him on skates, man. It's
Oh,
just
what?
like
Okay.
watching Fred Astaire or dance or something. You know?
Okay. Next time I see him, I'll bring that up, man.
Yeah. Oh, Al's I love that dude. He's still
Good
working.
man. Good man. He's a good man.
He is a good man. And he was married to once sweetheart of mine. You know, I never forgave him for that now. But
So,
it was, and we could only swim in one pool, and that was fortunately it was in my neighborhood. I grew up 10 blocks away from the U.
okay.
So I was close to downtown, so Jim Crow didn't affect me in making it hard for me to go someplace. You know, I could go downtown to the movies, I could go up to the university for games, and I had a point I wanted to with the show you how they felt about Black people. We could go to like Himmel Park, I don't know if it's still there, and swimming pools like that on the day that they would drain the pool.
Okay.
You know, so that way,
Right.
you know, okay, y'all can swim over here today, but we're gonna be getting rid of that water as soon as you
Yeah. Right.
that thing. But Estevan pool where Blacks swam was like, that was when I became a lifeguard there, that was almost like making the University of Arizona basketball team.
You're a celebrity over there.
That was a job that people want. Man, I'd like to be the lifeguard at Estevan.
Yeah.
Got that. I was the man, you know, my whistle and
Yeah.
stop running, you know, all that stuff, you know.
No, that's amazing.
And you needed that ego shot every now and then, you know,
For sure.
because most of my work was, you know, just a lot of janitor work, and I don't belittle that. That's honest work, but I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
When I was at Sears, there was an opening one time for a stock clerk, and I just thought that would be great. And I was never big-headed about all that basketball star stuff, but I thought, you know, being who I was, and okay, I've got a shot at this job, you know, stock clerk, you know, as opposed to janitor work. And they gave it to a dude who had just moved to town. He was a high school dropout from back east somewhere. He was a white dude, and we became friends right away because I don't deal with all that hatred kind of stuff, you know. But it was just sort of like, wow. And that told me something. Okay, all that being a star and being written up in the paper and all that is not all that it's cracked up to. You know, I mean, you can't give me a stock clerk job, and it fit within my day, you know, and schedule stuff. So, so that's what Tucson was kind of like. And I remember I'd been an activist all my life because my mom was politically and socially active. And let's see, what was the point I wanted to? I lost my point. It'll come to me.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So, I mean, you talked about, you know, getting your name in the paper, you know, being a star at U of A during your time playing. Obviously, you still hold the all-time single game scoring record at 46 points, right? So
yeah. And you know what I like? You know what I like about that? It's and I don't care if somebody breaks it, but it I think that alone has kept my name pictured all along, you know, because since my time, you guys come along, you and, you know, Sean and Bob and Kerr and Damon and all those people, I wouldn't have been meant, but I have that 46 points.
That's right. That's right. And what I remember that picture of you, you know, smiling. That's up in McHale. You know, it was the first day that I think I went to McHale. I remember that picture, and you know, having you on today is just amazing for me because I'm just happy to hear your stories. But can you talk about that game? What do you remember about that 46-point game and how it went down?
I just remember we didn't call it in the zone then, we called it being hot. I couldn't miss. I think momentarily on one shot, I tried to miss. Probably not really, but it just, just nonchalant, just throw it up, and it went in like I was Stephen Curry or something, But let me tell you something. I've told very few people. I was having a lot of problems with my marriage about the time that game came on, and I did a little something I had never done on a game. I did a little drinking.
Yeah.
I was just in a bad mood, and I remember after a while going, "Oh, damn! What have I done? I'm gonna embarrass myself." I think so. I was focused, on playing ball. I mean, that was my. Not that I wasn't focused before, but I was usually more relaxed about it. Just come in the game. But I was just saying, I can't embarrass my mother. I can't embarrass my friends. I can't.
Yeah.
And I think my first shot was like what would be a 3-pointer today or something, and it went down, and that locked me in. And then it was just, and I had a teammate, Marv Dutt, who the best passer I've ever played with. And I mean, he could just, one of those guys that kind of read you, know when I was going to be in a certain spot, and he was on that night.
That was my Mike Bibby. That was Mike Bibby for me.
Oh, hey, boy, you need that, especially because we just weren't that good. I appreciated all the guys I played with, and we couldn't help our, if we weren't that good. And so I've had some of the most humiliating experiences in my life. We played Cal the year they won the whole thing at Berkeley. It's the only time I think I can remember playing ball that I didn't want to go out in the second half. It was just humiliating. We didn't have any. They had a full court press, and we didn't have I can't think of names, not Bibby, or Gilbert Arenas, anything like that.
Yeah. Somebody beat that.
We had to scramble to get the ball across the court.
Yeah.
And then when they try to get it to me, it would be an off, it'd be like I had to lean down or something. And Daryl Imhoff, All-American, is just waiting for me to do, okay, I'm gonna wait for this dude to get the ball finally, ate me alive. If we'd had and he was better than me, but if we'd had a more decent team, I would have been competitive. I played against a couple of All-Americans, Barney Cable and stuff, and I held my own. Actually, I think I should have been All-American my senior year.
Yeah. Were you on any of the All-American teams that year? Or?
No, I was mentioned on something, I think. Well, they didn't know anything about Arizona.
West Coast, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I got drafted, and I could tell, by the Cincinnati Royals, when I went to camp, I could tell they didn't really know that much about me. They drafted me. It was real late. But I held my own there.
Yeah.
I remember some battles with Jack Twyman, who was a great player. And those guys, Arlen Bockhorn and those guys, and then Oscar came into camp after the Olympics and stuff. And so I got to play with him for a few minutes. And that was the first time I'd ever really, I think, I played against great players, but being on the court with him was just a whole other thing. I'd never seen passing like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was hitting us upside the head, man, because
you gotta get
we were open, and we didn't know he knew we were open.
Yeah.
I remember one time I blew a play and I was saying, oh, crap. So I'll just go over and take an empty spot over the other corner. And so I was running by the basket. And the next thing I knew, the last time I saw him, he was looking off somewhere else. And the next thing I knew, I had a ball in my hand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm on my way to go, not embarrass myself, and ended up with 2 points.
There you go. That free two is always good, man.
But
that's
I
what
knew.
Coach Olsen told me about Mike Bibby before I ever came. He's like, you don't have your hands up, he's going to hit you in the face. So make
Yeah.
sure that you're always ready, even if he's not looking at you. He's
That's
looking
it.
at you. So
And that's a good lesson. Everybody should play like that, even if they don't have a great passer.
yeah.
But I knew, I saw the handwriting on the wall. I had never been cut from anything. I played several sports in junior high. I had never been cut from anything, but I had this written down. In about 20 minutes, I had 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. And the coach didn't even say anything to me after the game.
Right.
And this was exhibition. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be going back home to Tucson real soon. I mean, it seemed like that ought to be something that would require a comment by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you still got it burned in your mind, so that's a good thing, man. So so I mean, obviously, a couple weeks ago during the UCLA game, you were inducted into the U of A Ring of Honor, and that's something that's long overdue. But can you just talk about like what that meant to you, the emotions and kind of everything that went into that day for you?
It was important to me historically to be mentioned, because everything is in a succession,
Yeah.
But I understand people that start Hall of Fames and all that, they're thinking about the greats right now, oh, we got to honor Lou Walton, or we got to honor this, and they don't think historically. I mean, and I mentioned when I met the team, I said, I'm kind of your great grandparent, and I said, and you guys have, made all my dreams of what I'd like the University of Arizona team to be like, but there were guys before you, so that was part. And to me, I accepted the honor in behalf of my community too. I love Tucson. The only reason I'm not living there is because in San Diego, I live by the Pacific Ocean, you know what I mean? So
Can't beat that.
I mean, go over there and burn up and stuff, I paid my dues.
That's right.
Ooh, boy. I mean, it's hot to even people who are used to being hot, I mean.
That's what I say. Is like when I was there at school, I could deal with it, but now when I go back, I'm like, man, I don't even know how I dealt with this for 4 years, man.
Ooh, and it's getting hotter.
Yeah.
That seems impossible, but I love the community. It made me. I had the best friends growing up. Well, most of them are gone. That's one thing, man. Your age, you look up and wow, everybody's gone.
You're still looking good,
Then
man.
you wonder, then I'm looking at myself, oh, I'm still here.
That's right. So my dad says every morning.
Me too.
Yes,
every morning I wake up, the first thing that comes to my mind is I kind of look around and I go, at least another minute, because
right.
you don't know when it's going to happen.
That's right.
Another shot at this thing.
So you talked about, I mean, saw you read your poem, and I've read some of your previous work as well. How did that come about? How did you get into writing poetry and doing things you do? Because they're very, very moving, very very emotional work. So like, where did that come from? Where did that love of poetry come from for you?
Started when I was a kid. I just met with a bunch of kids at a real great school here in San Diego, where the school is all about getting them into college. It's for first generation in a family to graduate from college. And I was talking to them I said, you got to maintain your childhood as you grow, don't ever lose that. And I was saying, for instance, I said, I could read when I was 3 years old. So I still love to read. I would try to, it took me a while to write, but I was always making up little ditties and stuff. And my mother and neighbors would say, oh, you just like Langston Hughes. You're so cute, kind of stuff. So I still do that. I like sports then. I don't play anything anymore, but I still watch, and I keep myself. My back is just terrible, but I still try to. I have a dance kind of thing I do for about 45 minutes where I can lean on the back of a chair. So I said I'm still trying to be fit.
Yeah.
I said I was interested in things. I'm still that, just talking about just don't lose your first being. That's you start off as a child. Keep that, because this grown-up world ain't all this cracked up to be.
That's right. You got to keep it going along.
Grown ups do some crazy things, have wars,
That's right. That's right.
people.
So, that's wonderful, man. And one last thing before I get out of here, I want to talk to you about is I read a poem that you did about Mr. Bill Russell, the late great Bill Russell.
Oh yeah.
And so, kind of talk to people about kind of your relationship to Bill, like with his impact on you, and then I know there's some funny stories in there that I read as well that you can talk about people in the community that think mistaking you for Mr. Russell and things like that. So
all the time, even now, I thought after he died that it would be over. Just the other day, somebody said, "Anybody ever told you look like Bill Russell?" I said, yeah. And speaking of Bill Russell, I love that dude. I remember when he was at University of San Francisco. He just 4 years ahead of me, like a graduating class ahead of me, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time. And when I see guys block somebody's shot and just slam the ball all into the stand, I said, "Oh, keep it in play.
Keep it in play. Start the fast break."
Because sometimes I was just watching a game. I can't remember who it was, maybe a college game or a pro. Somebody just slammed the ball out. They took the ball out and made a three.
Yeah.
So what have you done? But and being mistaken for him was a lot of fun. I remember I remember when I was in Boston, I never got that look. Oh, there's somebody, that must be Bill Russell. They know Bill Russell.
They do.
But in other places, I just get that I walk into a place and I feel like a celebrity because you see people say, how'd you that be Bill Russell? But I was in New York. I was walking by with my wife and one of my daughters at one of the playgrounds, with all that Harlem Globetrotter stuff going on out there with guys talking trash and playing. And some dude went and said, "Hey, Bill Russell." I said, "Hey, man." No, I said, "I get that all the time." "Oh, no, motherfucker, you Bill Russell."
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, he didn't recognize that I was about, maybe 4 or 5 inches shorter.
Shorter than Bill.
He definitely has more commas in his checkbook than I do.
Than all of us.
Yeah, really. And he's a great human.
Yeah, Bill was.
I never met him, but I was in Marin County years ago, going into a restaurant as he was coming out, and we didn't have eye contact.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those people that go miss
somebody. Yeah.
But I look back on that, I should have said something, but I don't know. Celebrities get that too much anyway. They go out with their family and people want autographs.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where there were celebrities and you look over at their, if it's a restaurant and you look at their table and you can tell they're having a serious conversation with their wife or husband or something. And then, you going over there, "Oh, you're my favorite,"
Yeah.
I don't think these people need that right now. They try to deal with something.
Yeah. Well, I just want to get your last thing. I want to get your thoughts on this year's team, and maybe like what are some of your favorite teams over the years that you've liked, and then your thoughts on this year's team and what the outlook is for them. How far you think they can go this year, and if you watched and kind of what you think of Tommy so far, and just give me your thoughts on U of A at the moment.
I think Tommy is great. He's got something, and he's got that. he has a connection with that Gonzaga world, international,
Yeah.
they get people from Uganda, what I mean? They just grab somebody. I don't have a particular favorite team because you guys that have come after me have taken it so far that I've just been pleased with all of it. Starting when Fox got here,
Yeah.
I got to meet him, and he and my mother became good friends. So I felt close to him, and he brought Bob Elliott and Cornell and all those guys in,
Yeah.
and then Andre Iguodala might be my favorite.
Okay. There you go.
It's something about him that I like, the way he gets after it,
Yeah.
on both ends of the court. And I like Sean Miller. A lot of people seem to hate him, but he won.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand why some people maybe don't like him, but I appreciated him a lot. Luke, he made the big shift
Yeah.
in things. But when winning the whole thing, I was just like in heaven. I was just like in heaven.
I was too.
And I felt like that. I felt like I couldn't lose that night, one way or the other. So Wildcats were going to win.
That's right. That's right.
But the right Wildcats won.
The good guys won. The good guys won that day.
Oh, that was just it could have been tearful, but I was just so happy that that the tears didn't come, and I can cry in front of people, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those, but and Tommy, I think, is that last year that was just amazing, and
Yeah.
this year is being equally amazing. And I'm on Facebook, and and with Arizona Wildcat kind of group and stuff, and it's just fun looking at people. They just analyze everything.
Everything.
Oh, they're not getting after it. They don't seem to understand. Hey, sometimes you win ugly.
Yeah.
The idea is win. You don't have it all the time. But I love seeing two big men
Me
run
too.
the floor.
Yes. Yes.
That's what's exciting about it. These guys are running the floor like they're,
And
John Morant or somebody or something.
they're decision makers too. You know what I mean? They make a lot of plays. They're keys to the offense. I love those two guys. I mean, I love Zoo and Umar, and even the new guys that we got, the big fellas. It's good to
Yeah.
see that, because nowadays game you don't see it very often, and they're doing it at a extremely high level. Extremely high level.
Oh man, and they're intelligent. They know
Yeah.
well, they played international. The whole sports is just different. When I was growing up, there were no camps and all that kind of stuff. And in a way, I'm kind of glad, because I mean, you just been playing too much. I developed my skills playing with my friends.
Yeah.
Playing a lot, and with me, even as a kid, I did what I call a one-on-none. I like just going to I don't shoot around anymore, but just going to a basketball court, and make it a workout. Just dribble down to one end, shoot, and I try to catch the ball before it hit the ground. Part of the to make sure I ran, and then go back down, and just keep moving.
Yeah.
Every now and then you fantasize, okay, Michael Jordan's out there, I'm gonna juke this dude.
Yeah. That's right. We've all
Glad
done
he's not out there.
that.
Oh, and that's the game. I mean, like I think of people like Michael and then Dr. J. Dr. J to me was the first shift of that, just people flying. I mean, just like I remember the first time I saw him, I was just whoa.
Yeah.
And when I was playing, the only time I remember dunking would be like if we stole the ball and on the end of a fast break or something. Right. It never occurred to me to just go dunk over somebody. Really? It's funny how your mind limits you. It just never. And I look back, I said, God, I could have just. Well, I had my stuff. I mean, if I was in the paint and you were Gardner, you were in trouble. Whether I dunked on you or not, because I could do that stuff and slide it off the. And I like the pretty parts of the game too. Just hitting it off the backboard, gently. But these guys, they just take it up and alley oop, and everybody on the court can do it.
Everybody can do it. Yeah.
I tell you one thing that scares me about the game is the emphasis on threes. I pass by playgrounds now and I see kids playing and they're all shooting out there. And they don't say, no, hey, you're trying to be Steph Curry, but Steph Curry does a whole lot of
other things.
You don't want to be dealing with him when he gets in there, and then he can go out there and pop and shoot. You gotta work inside out.
That's right. That's what I tell my kids too. Is like Steph Curry didn't start shooting from the logo. He started inside, built his jumper, built his strength, developed that over the years to be the best shooter ever. It didn't just pop out like you were in 8th grade and you could shoot from half court. You know what I mean?
But it amazes me how poor some of the guys, even in the pros, shoot. They can't shoot little pull-up jumpers in the paint. Like Ben Simmons, if he had just a little pull-up jump shot, he would be absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
But he won't. He just won't do it. But boy, he can pass that ball, and I love the way he cuts to the basket. It's almost like he's a razor blade. It's like if you got in his way when he's doing that, he would cut you.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. I think he's still dealing with the mental thing.
The mental part of it, yeah.
I felt for him the way things ended for him in Philadelphia. The guy didn't trust him, and because I followed him when he was at LSU, and I was real, and seemed like he's had a fairly decent shot then. I don't remember.
He shot it better then. It's definitely mental. It's definitely mental with him, but they're playing well. I mean, they're having a good season so far, so hopefully he can contribute going down the stretch, a little more than he has.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, hey, listen, I appreciate you taking the time today. I'd love to have you on another time. And maybe next time I see you, you talked a little bit about it earlier, but maybe we can get a shake 'em up together next time. Next time I see you, man.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Ernie McCray. Bear down as always, and thank you for everything you've done for the program and the city of Tucson.
And thank you for thinking about me and having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Absolutely, man. Have a good day. Appreciate it.
You too.